Okay, so to start with, nice and easy one, it'd be good to understand your journey to the IT industry, whether that was, at primary school, you saw the light and thought IT's for me, or if it was later in life, just how you ended up in the industry.
Well, it was, I studied maths at university, and when I finished my degree, if I'm honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I knew I needed a job. So and I found myself as a trainee software developer working for a company in Yorkshire. So I kind of fell into the job, and actually I didn't know at the time. I didn't actually get on very well with programming at university when I studied it, but I soon really got the hang of it. And actually, as a data scientist now and as a data science leader, it was actually one of the best things I could have done to start myself off on that career path. I just didn't know at the time. I mean, data science didn't exist at that time. Sure. So, yeah. So yes, I suppose so. But it's not something I dreamt about when I was a child. I think I probably was more interested in being a doctor, if I'm honest.
No, that's fair enough. And from that first job as a software developer, what have been the stages along the way until you work for a UST now? So how do you get from start to where you are now?
Sure. Well, like I say, I did a maths degree, which had a strong element of statistics, and statistics has always been a fascinating subject as far as I'm concerned, and that was my main interest in sort of the area of mathematics, in mathematics. So in a way, taking a job as a programmer was a sort of a diversion from that path. I actually wanted to be a government statistician. So I spent some years as a software developer working for some large companies. Worked for IBM and the Arcadia Group in Yorkshire and also around the world, which was great. It gave me a good grounding in software design and development and databases. And I always knew, this is 20 years ago now, I always wanted to combine statistical analysis with large data. And so I started a master's degree in my free time about 7 years into my career. At the same time, I took redundancy from the job I was doing, and I managed to get myself into the government statistical service and became a statistical analyst. That was again, 15 odd years ago, 20 years ago. So through that, so that was for the Department of Health, and then soon after that, I moved into the NHS Information Centre, what's NHS Digital now. And I was there for just under 10 years. And that was when data science was very much in its infancy. And so I built data science teams within NHS Digital and grew out services from there. And then I left NHS Digital and ran my own consultancy company for 5 years. And after a role in insurance, I'm in my role now as UK head of data at UST.
Okay, and in terms of, as you say, you didn't know at the time, but big data analytics, I mean, it's after cybersecurity, I think it's the buzz IT topic at the moment. So you must be feeling very valuable, but also enjoying the fact that what you do is front and center of many organizations focus at the moment.
So data and analytics is obviously a very it's a very hot potato, very popular area at the moment to both a lot of enterprises want to build out their services and capabilities in this space. So yes, it's a very it's a very opportune area to work in, and also a very interesting area. And if I'm honest, it's the interest for me that does it. I want to have an interesting job. So,
and just quickly before we move back to sort of the topic around women in IT particularly, but in terms of data analytics, do you think it's I'm trying to think, like all these topics, when they first arrive, there's an enormous hype and, they're going to change the world, and et cetera, and then the reality maybe dawns. But do you think in the case of data analytics, if people use them properly and understand what data, not all data is necessarily that important, but which bits to keep and what to do with it, do you think there's still some massive potential for organisations?
Oh, I think there's massive potential. It's interesting to talk about hype cycles, because I think we went through a hype cycle for data science that kind of ended and bottomed out just before the pandemic, and then with the pandemic and the way accelerated digital transformation, it grew again. So we're probably in the second hype cycle of data science. But more generally, it's a challenge for particularly large companies to use their data effectively and to leverage it into, analytics of different kinds and artificial intelligence. So it's the reason I think the hype cycle, well, part of the reason is because of that challenge. So I think where there is significant opportunity to leverage data into, to monetize it, to do all sorts of different things that can benefit your business, efficiency, quality assurance, etc., etc. It is a challenging thing. So data science it can be a hype topic, but I think as more enterprises and organizations mature with their data, it will become, well, as these things do, it will become more standard as a role, and there'll be less of a hype about it. Still think there'll be considerable interest in it.
Okay, and mention of challenges back to your career. I mean, you've done some various roles, it sounds, and some significant stuff along the way. I'm just wondering, in terms of the challenges you've faced, would you classify most of those as far as you're aware, as just standard sort of challenges that most people might have as they try and map out a career? Or do you think the fact that you were a woman in the IT industry, I'm sure you found out that I won't say you're alone, but you would probably have been in the minority in a lot of occasions. So did you find anything around that was an issue, or was it just, as I say, normal career type challenges?
I think personally, and this might be something that's, well, general for women, it's taken me a long time to grow my confidence in this space. But if I reflect on things, I could have maybe progressed faster if I'd been more confident in my abilities. And I'm an innovator. That's what I do, really, and that's what I've done through my career. And it's when I look back and reflect on it, you can see it. It's just, it's there, and I've innovated, and my innovations have grown as my career's grown. But it took me a long time to get that confidence in my abilities and my so in that maybe that's reflected on the fact that I'm a woman, and I think generally we work extremely hard to show that we can do all these things, whereas maybe men just get on and do it. And that's not a criticism of women. It's something, that confidence in your own abilities and self-belief is fundamental, I think.
And did you have some valuable mentors along the way that helped you with that self-belief, or did you largely have to find that sort of strength within as you went?
I've had some mentors through. I've not had many mentors. That probably would have helped too, if I'm honest. I could name names, but one particular in NHS Digital made a huge difference to my career. But yes, a lot of it's come from from within, if you like. Like I say, from my experience, it took me a long time to realise that the sort of solutions I could see couldn't necessarily just be seen by other people, and that was a challenge. When I realised that, for a start, I was less frustrated because I understood that I needed to show people how to do these things, and that made a big difference to my career.
And did you, with that ability, did that also help you in the sense that people were aware they weren't judging you because you were a man or a woman? It was just because they realised that you did have this unique ability to look at things in a slightly different way, and therefore did that become helpful to your career?
I wouldn't say it's unique, but it is relative. I think the thing is, once you start delivering, you show people what you can do, and it becomes, data science and artificial intelligence is quite a complex game, and so explaining it is quite a challenge at times. But it's much easier if you can show people things, and they can think, oh yeah, it's much easier. And when people have seen that you can deliver, it becomes easier to get the opportunities going forwards.
Okay, and without trying to labour the point, but do you think because you're working on, as I say, we know it's a buzz topic, but it is in the IT spectrum, if you like, it's at the more complicated end. Do you think that's sort of helped you as well? Whereas if you were doing a more mundane IT thing, you might not have been valued in the same way. Does that make sense?
Potentially, yes. That's got this kind of a double-edged sword, really, because it is quite hard to understand and actually quite hard to explain. a lot of people don't really know what we do. So they just appreciate the benefits, which is fine. But if it was more mundane, it would probably be easier in some ways, if you saw what I mean. But like I say, I like a job that interests me, so that's why I'm working in the job I am.
And in terms of the sort of work from where you started, where you are now, the sort of workplace attitudes, again, whether that's specifically sort of the men-women split, or just generally how the workplace is, or different employers. I mean, just thoughts as to, have you noticed a lot of change in terms of the way women are, treated in the workplace during your time working, or has it more been which type of organisation you work for as to how you've been?
Well, it's the interest. I mean, when I started off overtly in the IT industry, and then I went generally private sector, and then I went into the public sector, government departments, NHS, data agencies. There are more women working in the public sector, certainly in the roles I was working in there, than there are outside in the wider technology industry. So I've kind of I started off in the IT industry and went into the public sector and the NHS and came out. And I'm in there now. Proportionally, there's more women, like I say, back in the public sector. So that's a difference. There's the statistic, in the IT industry now, 26% of the workforce are women. So, that reflects where we are now. And of course, it isn't only about the gender; it's about all kinds of different aspects of diversity. And I think that's generally improving. But I do think we've got a long way to go still.
And in terms of that, sort of what still needs to be done, do you have any thoughts as to, from your experience, what type of things would be good? I guess there's two parts. There's the education part, and then there's obviously, once people hit the workplace, things that can be done there as well. So any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I've got two young daughters, so that it's something I'm on my mind now as they go through the education system. Of course, education more widely. It's really important to show girls and young women that they can work in technology too, so showing role models, so they see someone, a woman doing the work that they could aspire to be, and to see there's a path for them. I think that's really important in education, and obviously encouraging diversity in STEM subjects. It's in schools and in universities. That's fundamental. In the workplace, I think increasingly people are checking their biases, and there's an awareness that's kind of a necessity these days, and it's something. I carry my own biases, of course I do, and it's something I need to be aware of and ensure I watch, and more people, I think, increasingly doing that around us. And also, in our work at UST, we work with Tech She Can and Step It Up. Two examples of groups that encourage diversity in the tech workforce and seek to grow it. And so there's a number of different aspects there to how it can be done, and I think it needs to be done across the spectrum.
And on the education front, with the do you think, from your experience, is it being done well, or is it, I won't say lip service, but do people really understand about the IT? I just wonder, because I know even now trying to get IT taught well in schools is perhaps difficult, because there's a shortage of IT experts within the actual industry. So I'm guessing on the teaching level, there's even less sort of expert people. So is that a problem?
Yeah, I don't. The thing is, though, that probably is part of the issue. But actually, if you think about primary school, someone needs to be a good teacher. They don't necessarily need to be an IT expert, because of the level you're teaching children at that level, and as they get older, that does change. But I think it's actually more important. It's like one of my friends, her daughter's choosing A levels now, and she's very, very capable at maths, but she was thinking about not doing maths simply because there wouldn't be any other girls in her class, and that's more of a hindrance, I think, than the standards of the teachers, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I'm just wondering how does that, I mean, how does one, you can't say just because, you know, person A wants to do maths.
No, of course.
Get some of her friends to go, is there
but that's just it. It's opening that up and creating the role models so girls and young women can see what they can be doing if they study maths, if they study engineering, etc. Will increase, you know, they see pathways for that and ways into and the jobs, you know, showing that there's a huge diversity of roles in technology. It isn't all about programming. You know, I'm a programmer. I love programming, to be clear. But you know, there's UX design. There's all kinds of different things that is, you know, a career in technology can offer. And so showing that diversity rather than sort of giving the impression that everyone's a coder. Not that, like I say, there's nothing wrong going on. I am a programmer by background in trade, and I love it. So, you know, but showing you know, it's an awesome thing. So I'm not discouraging it in any way, but showing it's you know, has a lot of different kinds of opportunities, I think is really important.
And do you think there's a bias, just a matter of interest, in terms of the role models? I mean, I guess you can't help the fact that the people that end up often in the newspapers or on the news, you know, the big social media owners and stuff, they all seem to be older males working in Silicon Valley or whatever. But do you think in general the media is perhaps less sympathetic, empathetic to females who've got to the top of their you know, profession, and particularly in the IT space, so they, for whatever reason, they either portray them as being sort of fairly ruthless characters, which perhaps people, you know, lower down to think, oh, well, if that's what's required, I don't want to do it, or just generally don't give them the same airspace as they would to, you know, a male equivalent who's done well.
I think it's probably, I mean, if you look at, I'm not sure of the answer to that, if I'm honest. I think you know, you get these extreme examples of the you know, the social media platform leaders, etc., who are male, and maybe it's there's all sorts of different reasons there. Possibly people don't search the limelight as much as others. So all kinds of different reasons, but I could talk about this one at length, I think. But you know, but essentially it also comes down to the fact there are a lot less women in those high level roles actually. Yep. So proportionally, maybe if the, I mean, I don't know what that percentage is, but I think it will probably be a lot lower than 26% of the, you know, that women make up of the tech workforce now. I think it's probably less than 10%. So maybe that's the biggest reason.
Okay, and in terms of sort of moving the situation forward, do you have anything? You've mentioned the sort of education side of things, but if you could change something in the IT industry sort of overnight or, you know, quickly to get progress moving, is there anything? Are there any things you think, wow, this can't carry on, we've got to change this, or why don't we do it this way, or stuff like that? Or do you think? I think IT is phenomenally exciting, and you referenced earlier, there's so many different careers and stuff like that, and it underpins almost every business, you know, out there now, just because we've all gone digital. So, or do you think it will naturally sell itself, or what do you think would help to improve the situation? I
think the solution really is holistic. So I don't think this is sort of, you're not really implying that by the question. I'm not saying you're saying there's one answer to this. I think though the industry could recognise that it's actually at times it can be quite cutthroat, and that's more of a male trait than a woman's. And you know, I have worked in different industries, so I have seen and you know, in sectors and seen these things differently. So that would help for sure. As I think would a greater degree of empathy, more generally, an appreciation for other people's you know, other people's thoughts, other people's feelings, but you know, and ultimately technology is all about solving problems for people. It's not, you know, we get all this technology and all the sort of the tech and gadgets, but they're there to help humans solve problems, and having it more empathy, more, you know, I think would be helpful in lots of different ways.
Okay. It's been good to chat to you, Heather. So thank you for giving me your time, and appreciate it. Thanks very much indeed.
No problem. It's been great to be here. Thank you very much.